Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Powerhouse, Fallout 4 just came out. Why are you talking about Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires when you should be talking about Fallout 4? Well, my friends, it's because I want to talk about Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires right now. The Wasteland is fine and all, but I need to unify China under one banner first. Every time I see a new Dynasty Warriors game come out, I can't stop myself from picking it up. Even when I feel like I'm getting tired of the same old formula, each new installment seems to rekindle that nostalgic feel of defeating millions of yellow turbans, even if it is for the 50th time. While the main series holds up well, I always prefer the Empire series. It mixes up the hack and slash genre with elements of turn-based strategy. It's a hybrid that you don't really see at all, so the unique concept provides multiple opportunities for Omega Force to take advantage of. However, can this game prove to be a strong entry into the Empire series, or does it fall in the pit of mediocrity for all of us to laugh and move on? As our conquest knows no bounds, it's time to reunite the land and make sure to stay out of Lu Bu's way. This is Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires. While you could just start off with Empire mode and get right into the game, I recommend creating your own character first. If you're not familiar with the Romance of the Three Kingdoms or any of the historical figures from that time period, then this will be a great place to start. The character customization is extremely in-depth and is easily one of the best features about this game. You can change everything about the character and really go as wacky or as realistic as you want. The sheer amount of clothing items and parts for edit allow for a plethora of possible combinations, not including any of the DLC. It really does feel like The Sims 3 in ancient China. Not only are there customization options for aesthetics, but also for gameplay as well. You can choose your starting stats as well as your weapon of choice. From here, you can choose your EX moves, your Musu attacks, and your rage attacks, allowing for unique fighting styles for each character. The customization doesn't even end there. You can create your own soldier, your own banner, and heck, even your own horse. I named mine Blue Hair, which is supposed to be the cousin of Lu Bu's red hair. It's officially part of history now, by the way. So now it's time to enter the world of chaos and unite the land under one rule. In Empire mode, there are many scenarios to choose from with different starting conditions. The earlier scenarios allow for a lot of altering history, so I recommend starting out with the Yellow Turban Rebellion. Once you tune the game up to the way you want it, you can choose your character. Depending on who you choose will determine where you start out and what you'll be able to do. If you chose a created character in a historical scenario, chances are you'll be starting out as a vagrant. Life as a vagrant sounds fun, but it's very limited in what you can do. Your main goal will be to raise your own banner or to eventually become an officer to another kingdom. In the meantime, you can participate in various missions and battles to earn funds and increase relationships with other characters. The missions allow for you to gain gold, gain new weapons, and alter your virtue. For example, missions that involve you to steal from merchants will decrease your virtue, while taking missions that involve you to protect people will increase it. We'll get to virtue later on in this review. Missions are also a good way to get introduced to the mechanics of the game. The biggest strength with the combat, minus the satisfaction of defeating thousands of enemies in a single mission, is how easy it is to pick up and learn. The combos are very simple to learn and the action is very fast paced. EX attacks allowed for unique combinations within a character, and Musu attacks are pretty much super attacks that can be activated once you fill up a meter. Rage attacks happen when you fill up your rage meter. This is a throwback to how old Musu attacks used to work in the earlier Dynasty Warriors titles, so it's cool to see this brought back. The only mechanic that requires some explanation is the weapon affinity. Each weapon is assigned a specific affinity, heaven, earth, or man. Heaven beats earth, earth beats man, and man beats heaven. It should be heaven beats all, but whatever. If your affinity is stronger than your opponent, then you get an increase in damage and a chance to perform a storm rush. If your affinity is weaker than your opponent, then your attacks are weaker and do not stun him. You can, however, perform a counterattack by switching weapons when he/she is performing a charge attack. This adds an element of strategy that makes switching your weapons an important element in battle. Everything else regarding the combat is about the Empire additions to it. Before the battle, you can set up what you will equip as well as fortifying your bases. You can increase the durability of your bases or make your bases specialty bases that can increase your attack, your defense, or provide a place where you and your officers can heal up. Stratagems can be used during battle. Some like increasing attack temporary or instant, while others take time to develop. These are known as large-scale stratagems. While they do take up time, the effects are very substantial and can force a victory where it looked impossible from the start. These do add another layer of strategy to the battles and are a great addition to the gameplay. Goals of each battle are very simple: capture the bases and defeat the enemy leader. It's important to understand the battle map and the layout of the bases, as it'll prove to be vital in navigating around the battlefield. The two flaws this game has with the combat is how it's a bit too easy, even on harder difficulties. Back in the day, it was almost impossible to get 1000 KOs in one battle unless you really knew how to play. Now it happens almost every single battle. Harder difficulties only seem to increase the enemy's health and make Musu attacks against you result in your death. Other than that, it doesn't really do too much to offer a challenge. Unavoidably, this game is a button mashing frenzy. As a fan of the series since its fourth inception, I can acknowledge this. Some people have more tolerance than others for hack and slashes, but if you are a fan of the genre, then it shouldn't become too repetitive for you. Plus, this game is just satisfying as all hell. What other game do you know allows you to beat up thousands of people with a palm tree? I mean, come on, think about that. So I can go on and on about the combat, but let's talk about the turn-based side of things and my journey towards the end. So one of my friends told me to start up a Vagabond unit, and I agreed to do so. From here, my next objective was to build up my army and to find a land to call my own. I decided to join random battles to gain some experience and level up. I also recruited my boy Gan to come along my journey, and together, we eventually took a piece of land and found a place to call our own. Now, I officially was a ruler, and my first course of action was to set up my kingdom policy. This is done every 6 months, which one turn equals a month. From here, I'm able to tell my officers what I want them to focus on. This includes raiding neighborhood territories, recruiting new officers, developing territories, forming alliances, and a bunch more. With so few officers and troops, I'm not a very strong kingdom, so as I gather more troops, I need to make sure that I have allies to watch my back. They are very important since allies will send reinforcements during battles. I begin to form alliances with other kingdoms as I use stratagems to ensure that they will not refuse. As I gain land and build new facilities, I gain access to new weapons, new items, and new stratagems for me to learn and use on the battlefield. Even though I am a ruler, I still make time to focus on my personal affairs. Eventually, my good friend Gan became my brother, as we swore an oath together. We promised to fight alongside each other, and to stick together through life and death. I needed to make sure my bloodline was strong, and so did Gan. He introduced me towards Zhurong, and while I wouldn't mind getting my rocks off to her, I had another chick in mind that I was after. It was the absolutely beautiful Liansha, and I knew that one day she had to be mine. There wasn't a more voluptuous and succulent chick worthy of carrying my seed. She had 2 reasons staring at me the whole entire time why she needed to be my future wife. After I confessed my love to her, she felt the same way about me. We knew right then and there to get married and live the rest of our lives together. With 2 badass warriors bonded by slightly unconditional love, we became the most powerful couple in the land. We had a child and he eventually grew up. His name was Lotsu and he looked like a rusty old man. I was perplexed on how 2 good-looking people created such an ugly child together. Nevertheless, he would be the one to carry on my legacy when his time would come. My son proved to be a valiant warrior despite his unappealing looks. His weapon of choice were the twin hooks, the same as mine. However, Pow3rh0use used his mother's Musu attacks as well as her signature rage attack. It was a strange hybrid to say the least, but he proved to be more than effective on the battlefield. Eventually, the day came for me when I was finally able to unite the land under my banner. My enemies have all fallen under my blade. It started out with just a friend and I, but eventually we turned it into a prosperous kingdom destined to ending the chaos. It has been a tough journey. Okay, maybe really not all that tough, but our lives are not over yet. My family, including my super hot wife Liansha, my loyal sworn brother Gan, and my uglier than thou son Lotsu, were ready to take on the challenges that lie ahead of us. The chaos might be gone, but there are always new conflicts that are ready to arise. Thank you guys for listening to my journey, and I wish you all a good night. This is Pow3rh0use, signing off. Wait. I still haven't finished reviewing this game yet. In a nutshell, there's a lot to do as a ruler. This was only the personal side of things. I didn't even mention stealing characters from other kingdoms, betrayals that can happen, promoting officers, or even what I forgot to write down in the script. But now, let's focus on being an officer. Here, I will play as one of the most badass warriors, and my favorite character of the whole series is Pow3rh0use. He serves his cousin Pow3rh0use. Depending on your rank, you might have a lot of control or very little of it. Either way, you are given a task that needs to be completed within 6 months. It usually involves taking over another territory. As an officer, your goal is to rise up the ranks and get promoted. When you get promoted, you're given the ability to make objections during the war console, invade territories, and pretty much everything else a ruler does. You can also choose to betray your own ruler and form your own empire. Depending on the friends that you have made will determine how many people will support you. So let's talk about virtue real quick. Virtue is a measure of your actions. Depending on whether you are a good guy or a bad guy will determine how easy it is to get along with certain people, like attracts while opposites repel. Depending on your actions and virtue will determine your way of life. Way of life is pretty much a label given to you. For some reason, I seem to always have the same ones: Raging Commander, Benevolent Ruler, and General's Right Hand Man. These titles make you better at certain actions than others, so they are significant. It also determines how another officer will act like in a given situation. Honestly, I like playing as an officer. You focus less about some of the nonsense going on within your kingdom and focus on yourself. It is also very fun for somebody looking to take over from within. So that is Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires, or at least a good majority of it. I didn't mention the alternate costumes, the fact that you can change the look of the room you're in, the variety of animals to choose from, not including horses, the ability to carry over what you've earned in other scenarios, historical battles, free mode, creating your own scenarios, co-op, and a few other little quirks. While this review was a very positive one, I did have some gripes. For one thing, the pacing is way too fast. Each scenario can really be completed in just one sitting if you really wanted to. You can neglect some factors and still unite the land without a problem. And while you can use intrigue to your advantage and play around with the enemy, it really isn't encouraged since going to battle is the much simpler and efficient solution. And this goes without saying, but the graphics are very underwhelming and the frame rate is locked at 30. Plus, there are a few graphical glitches every once in a while. Nothing too game breaking, but it is worth mentioning. My two favorite Empire games are Dynasty Warriors 5 Empires and Samurai Warrior 2 Empires. However, I don't think you should pass on this one. It's a well-made game with a bunch of content to keep you busy for a long time. The mechanics of ruling your kingdom could have been a bit improved upon, as well as the pacing of scenarios, but overall I had a really good time. The concept is very unique, the personal aspects of swearing oaths and getting married is pretty awesome, and the combat is fast and fluid. There's no better feeling than eliminating thousands of enemies in your journey to unite the land, accompanied by a friend, a rocking soundtrack, and really good Japanese voice actors. I highly recommend this game, especially if you're a fan of hack and slashes. I also recommend the Romance of the Three Kingdoms series if you don't like the hack and slash and just want to focus on the strategy aspect. As always, thank you for watching, and this is Pow3rh0use signing off.